Unit 3, Lesson 3, Interior and Exterior Angles of Polygons. So today the goal is to teach you guys how to solve for unknown angles of a polygon. So I want you guys to remember first from before that we learned that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So what that means is if you have a triangle, all three of the interior angles will always add up to 180. So you might ask, what do the inside angles of other shapes add up to? So for example, if I had a four-sided shape, or a five-sided shape, etc. So, to figure out what the sum of the interior angles add up to in any polygon with X amount of sides, you want to use this formula. So for example, if I wanted to know what do the interior angles all add up to in an 8-sided shape. So an octagon. What you would do is you would plug in 8 into n and solve. So that would mean that the interior angles of an 8-sided shape add up to 1080 degrees. Okay? So let's work through some examples. So the sum of interior angles are given below. How many sides does the shape have? So this time we're given the sum, and we need to find out how many sides it is. Right? Before we knew how many sides it was, but we had to find out the sum. So we're just kind of going backwards now. So if the sum is 540, we can plug that in for Sn and solve for n. So 540 is the sum of the interior angles, so make sure you plug it into the sum of the interior angles spot. Now we need to solve for n. So I'm going to get rid of the 180 first. So right now it's 180 times n minus 2. So if I bring it to the other side, it becomes divide by 180. Now I'm going to bring over the minus 2 to the other side, and it turns into plus 2. Therefore, this shape has 5 sides. We call that a pentagon. Alright, let's try part B. So the sum of the interior angle is 1080. How many sides does the shape have? So we have a formula that relates the sum of the interior angles to the number of sides, and that is this. Now let's plug in 1080 into the sum of the interior angles, because that's what 1080 represents. Now let's solve for n. So I'm going to bring 180 to the other side, turns into divide by 180. And I'm going to bring the minus 2 to the other side, turns into plus 2. So therefore, this shape has 8 sides. So it's an octagon. Alright, solve for the unknown angles. Use SAP for the sum of angles in a polygon rule. So when we say the rule that we're using, we can use the short form SAP. Okay, so this is a 4-sided shape, and we need to find x. So we need a way to relate all those 4 interior angles. Okay, and the way we will relate them is using the sum of the interior angles formula. So Sn equals 180 times n minus 2. Okay. Now, we know that the number of sides is 4, so we can plug that in for n. Okay. And we know that the sum of the interior angles is just this plus this plus this plus this. Alright, let's simplify this a little bit. So on the left side, I'm going to collect all my like terms. So I have x plus x plus x plus x, which is 4x. And then I have 15 plus 25 minus 20 plus 20, which is 40. And then over here, I can simplify the 4 minus 2. And now I'm going to isolate for the x. I'm going to bring the 4 to the other side and it turns into divide by 4. So x is equal to 80. Now, we're not done yet because it says solve for the unknown angles. So now I need to go and find each individual angle. So I know what x is, so I just need to plug that in. So this angle is going to be 80 plus 15, which is 95. So that angle is 95 degrees. This angle is 105 degrees. This angle is 60 degrees. And this angle is 100 degrees. And now we finish this question. Alright, the last question here for this section is find the value of x and y. So the first thing I'm going to use is I see supplementary angles here. So that means I can quickly get the value of y before I do the rest of the question, because I know that 100 plus y will equal 180 degrees by the supplementary angle rule. Now I just have to solve for y. So y must be 80 degrees. So I'm going to plug that in. And now I can use my sum of interior angles to find x. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided shape. So let's figure out what the sum of its interior angles should be. So I'm going to plug in 5 for n. And then I'm going to simplify. So, I've just found out that the sum of all these interior angles should add up to 540. So, 80 plus x plus 35 plus x minus 15 plus x minus 35 plus x plus 25 should all equal 540. So I'm going to collect the like terms. So I have x plus x plus x plus x, which is 4x. And then I have 80 plus 35 minus 15 minus 35 plus 25, which is 90. And now I'm going to isolate for x. I'm going to bring the 90 to the other side and subtract it. So x equals 112.5. So the question only asked us to figure out what x and y was, but if the question then said what are all of the interior angles, all you'd do is you would do what we did in the last question. You'd plug x in to each one of these equations and you would find the value of each interior angle. Okay, the last part of today's lesson is to understand the relationship between the exterior angles. So the rule is the exterior angles, so the angles on the outside of any polygon, always adds up to 360. No matter what type of shape it is, if it's a triangle, a square, an octagon, okay, it's always going to add up to 360. So that's an easy one to remember and an easy one to apply. So let's just try one quick example. So solve for y, okay, and it's an exterior angle, and we know that all the exterior angles of this shape add up to 360. So 70 degrees plus 60 degrees plus 65 degrees plus 40 degrees plus y equals 360 degrees by the exterior angle rule. Okay, now we're just going to add this up and then solve for y. Alright, so y is equal to 125 degrees. And the way you could check that is you could add up all the angles now and ask yourself, do they total 360? And if you add them all up, you will see that it adds up to 360.